If cats were to write books for mice, they will write that a mouse that is eaten by a cat will go to heaven. If lions were to write books for buffaloes, they will write that buffaloes that are eaten by lions will go to heaven. If dogs were to write books for rabbits, they will write that rabbits that are eaten by dogs will go to heaven. If hyenas were to write books for bugs, they will write that bugs that are eaten by hyenas will go to heaven. That is why today the books that we read, economics books that we read, tell us that workers work hard for the employer. Faithful workers, diligent workers will go to heaven. It is because lions will never tell buffaloes that they just eat them to survive. It is because cats will never tell mice that they just eat them just to survive. It is because dogs will never tell rabbits that they just eat them to survive. If the dogs need the rabbits to bring themselves to them to be eaten, they will have to convince them by telling them that when rabbits are eaten by dogs, they will go to heaven. No buffalo will freely give itself to be eaten by lions. And if lions want buffaloes to give themselves freely to be eaten by lions, they will have to convince them that if buffaloes are eaten by lions, they will go to heaven. That is why we can never and we should never depend on the books written by the employers to tell us the truth. If we want to free ourselves from deception, we should never depend on the books written by the employers to liberate us. That is, if we are serious about freedom. The books that we are reading, those that are not written by the employers, they were sponsored by the employers. They were paid for by the employers. They were accepted by the employers. It is only then bugs must write their own books about their own fears, about their own hopes, about their own pain, about their own experience. That is how bugs are going to survive the onslaught by the hyenas. Mice must write their own books about their experience, about their own fears, about their own hopes, about their own aspirations, about their own pain. That is how mice are going to survive the onslaught by cats. Rabbits must write their own books. They must depend on their own experience. They must depend on their own pain, because no one feels the pain for somebody else. That is how rabbits are going to survive the onslaught by dogs. We've been slaves for so long. We've been employees for so long. We work for the employers when we are starving. We work hard when we are homeless. We work harder when we don't have clothes, because they convince us that good servants will go to heaven. They convince us that all the glory for us is in heaven. Ask yourself, don't they also want that glory? Why would they put themselves in the position where they will suffer in heaven? Why must they put themselves in a place where their next life is misery? It is because they wrote the books have been written by the employers. It is because the books have been written by the lions. That is why the books are telling the buffaloes that are eaten by the lions will go to heaven. How will the lions go to heaven? How will the employers go to heaven if we must suffer in this world so that we must get a good life in heaven? Don't they want a good life also? How can they convince us that they don't want a good life in heaven when they're dying for it here? They're prepared to fight and die for it here on earth. How foolish can we be? Until when are we going to read the books written by those who want to destroy us? Until when are we going to read books that are written by those who want to enslave us? Until when? Until are we going to read books written by our robbers? Until when? Until are we going to read the books written by our killers? We need to write our own story as workers. We need to write about our own experience. We must write about our own pain. Let mice write their own books and stop reading books written by cats. Let bugs read their own books and stop reading books written by hyenas. Let buffaloes read their own books and stop reading books written by lions. As workers, we need to start writing about our own story. We must tell our own story. We must believe our own experience. We should not touch the burning coal embers. Then we are told that is what we are feeling is joy. We should stop getting into the fire, and we are told that what we are feeling is the best experience in the world. We must stop listening to them. Those who tell us that sugar is sour. Those who tell us that vinegar is sweet. Those who tell us that salt is good for us. Those who tell us that chilies is what we must eat. Those who tell us that the bread is bad for us. Those who tell us that we must eat stones. We must write about our own experience. We must stop reading the books written by our employers. Because reading the books written by our employers is like the mice that are reading books written by cats. They will perish. If we don't want to perish, we must start believing our own experience, how we feel, the joy we feel and the pain we feel, our own sufferings and our own happiness. We must not be told what we are feeling. We must feel for ourselves.